How does a tiny island with no farmland, no oil, and barely any land to build on become one of the richest places on Earth? Singapore is smaller than New York City, yet its economy outmuscles entire countries. Today, we're breaking down the numbers behind Singapore's astonishing $565 billion economy, counting down its top industries from the smallest to the absolute giants. Stick around, because by the end, you'll see why Singapore isn't just wealthy, it's economically special. Singapore is home to just over 6 million people. And yet, when you divide the country's GDP by that number, you get almost $94,000 per person, one of the highest figures anywhere in the world. For comparison, that's more than Japan, more than the UK, more than Canada. But Singapore didn't always look like this. Back in the 1960s, it was a poor, newly independent city-state, vulnerable and resource-starved. No oil wells, no giant farmlands, just a strategic location, a deep harbor, and a government determined to survive. Fast forward to today, and Singapore's economy is one of the most sophisticated in the world. So, how exactly do they make their money? Let's count down the top 10 industries that fuel Singapore's economy. Number 10, agriculture and food, $4 billion. Coming in last place is agriculture. In most countries, farming feeds both the population and the economy. But in Singapore, farming barely registers, less than 1% of GDP, about $4 billion at most. And yet, this tiny slice has a futuristic twist. Instead of rice paddies and cow pastures, Singapore is building vertical farms on rooftops, experimenting with hydroponics, and raising fish in controlled indoor tanks. It's less about feeding the nation and more about insurance against global food shocks. If supply chains ever collapse, these high-tech farms could one day be a lifeline. Number 9, food and beverage, $10 billion. This is where Singapore shines culturally more than financially. Hawker centers dish out Michelin-starred chicken rice for a few dollars, while fine dining restaurants like Odette or Burnt Ends cater to the global elite. But here's the surprise. In 2024, this sector actually shrank by about 0.5%. Rising costs and changing tourist patterns meant people spent a little less on food. Still, the symbolic power is huge. Food is part of Singapore's brand. Tourists come here not just for Marina Bay Sands or Sentosa Island. They come for chili crab and kaya toast. Number 8, retail trade, $15 billion. But the trend isn't all rosy. In 2024, retail dipped slightly, down 0.4% overall. Electronics and fashion sales fell. Even supermarkets slowed. The only standout? Cars. Vehicle sales surged more than 15%, thanks to a rebound in consumer confidence and high demand for electric vehicles. Retail is still important, but it's no longer the growth engine it once was. Singaporeans aren't just buying more stuff. They're investing, traveling, and spending differently. Number 7, tourism and accommodation, $29 billion. Picture this. Over 16.5 million international visitors in 1 year, nearly 3 times Singapore's population. Hotels alone brought in 5.3 billion Singapore dollars, and big attractions like Marina Bay Sands, Gardens by the Bay, and the Formula One night race drove massive spending. What's fascinating is how tourism feeds into Singapore's global image. Every visitor goes home saying, "Wow, that city was clean, safe, futuristic." That's priceless marketing. And as international travel continues to boom, this sector could easily push GDP growth by another 1 or 2% over the next decade. Number 6, transportation and logistics, $34 billion. The Port of Singapore handled over 41 million containers in 2024, making it one of the busiest in the world. Meanwhile, Changi Airport welcomes 67 million passengers, fully rebounding to pre-pandemic levels. This isn't just about moving goods and people, it's about strategy. Singapore sits at the crossroads of East and West, and it's turned geography into pure economic power. Oil tankers refuel here, electronics are shipped out here, and Changi has become more than an airport. It's a symbol of Singapore's efficiency and global reach. Number 5, information and communications, $42 billion. This includes everything from IT services to data centers to fintech. Regional giants like Grab and Razer call Singapore home. Global heavyweights like Google, Facebook, and Amazon have built massive data centers here. In fact, Singapore is now one of Asia's top internet and cloud hubs. And the timing couldn't be better. As artificial intelligence and cloud computing explode, Singapore is positioning itself to be the digital brain of Southeast Asia. This sector has already been growing steadily, and in the next decade, it could easily double. Number 4, construction and real estate, $60 billion. Construction and real estate make up about $60 billion. around 11% of GDP. And in a land-scarce place like Singapore, every square foot counts. In 2024 alone, construction contracts worth $44 billion were awarded. That includes mega projects like the Cross Island MRT line, Bukit Timah Integrated Development, and endless new residential towers. Real estate sales also rose. Units sold jumped 15% despite cooling measures. Singapore is a city that never stops rebuilding. The skyline you see today? It'll look different in 20 years, guaranteed. Glass towers rise, old buildings fall, and green skyscrapers covered in plants redefine urban living. Construction here isn't just an industry, it's the heartbeat of a constantly evolving city. Number 3, manufacturing, $150 billion. The electronics cluster alone grew by more than 8% in 2024, with semiconductors surging 26%. These are the chips that power your phone, your laptop, even your car. On top of that, Singapore is a leader in aerospace engineering, repairing aircraft engines for airlines across Asia, and in biomedical sciences, producing medical devices and pharmaceuticals. Singapore doesn't just trade goods, it builds them. And in an era where supply chains are everything, that makes this sector one of the country's most powerful economic engines. Number 2, finance and insurance, $160 billion. Sliding into second place is finance and insurance, contributing roughly $160 billion, or 28% of GDP. Think about those gleaming towers in the central business district. Inside are global banks like DBS, OCBC, UOB, alongside international heavyweights like Citibank and HSBC. Singapore has also become a major hub for asset management, with hundreds of billions under management and insurance firms scaling to cover the fast-growing Asian middle class. Fintech adds another layer. Apps like GrabPay and Revolut are testing the future of cashless living right here. Investors love Singapore because it's stable, well-regulated, and trusted. In uncertain times, capital flows towards safety. Number 1, wholesale trade, $170 billion. This is the business of importing, exporting, and re-exporting. Singapore buys electronics, chemicals, machinery, processes them, adds value, and sends them back out to the world. In 2024, non-oil re-exports jumped 10%, with integrated circuits, telecommunications equipment, and computers leading the way. It might not sound glamorous, but this is Singapore's secret weapon. It sits in the middle of global trade flows, and every container that passes through adds to GDP. Wholesale trade is why Singapore became rich in the first place, and it remains the backbone of the economy today. So why is Singapore so rich? Because it built an economy around being a global hub. No farmland, no mines, no oil fields, just smart planning, world-class infrastructure, and relentless reinvention. Exports today are dominated by electronics, chemicals, and refined petroleum. Challenges remain: rising costs, an aging population, and global trade tensions. And there you have it, the 10 industries that power Singapore's $500 billion economy. From futuristic farms worth a few billion to wholesale trade worth hundreds of billions, every sector plays its part in this extraordinary story. If you found this breakdown fascinating, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into world economies, and drop a comment. Which country or city should we explore next? Thanks for watching.